Hey, what's going on? And welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk to the most interesting people in the world of pop culture and everything in between. Now, listen, what you're seeing right now is something you will never see again. Me in an LA Kings jersey. Not going to happen, but I am wearing it today in honor of our guest's body count.
If you're never going to wear it again, why do you own it?
Don't ask questions. Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. We are very, very excited this week to be doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to bring in my co-host, Ryan Stick, right off the bat. Ryan, this is something that we've been talking about for a while now, and I think we're going to finally start implementing this on the show. Over the years, you and I collectively have both gotten to talk to a lot of interesting people. And I think sometimes when you're someone who is a content creator, or an interviewer or someone that does a lot of stuff for a lot of different places, unfortunately, that stuff can get mixed up and kind of be all over the place. So I'm of the mind of, if I did content for someone 10, 12, 13 years ago, I'm taking it back. But no, there's been a lot of interviews that I've done over the years that I've said, man, I really, really, really want to bring that back to life, bring it back so people can hear it on this podcast. Just in case it's somebody who might have passed away, who we do have content of that I've talked to people who have passed away, or someone we haven't had a chance to revisit. So this is really unique because we got a chance to talk to Body Count. We got a chance to talk to Ernie C, founding member of Body Count. And 10 years ago, when they played Heavy Montreal, I got a chance to talk to Ice-T from Body Count right before he played his set. So
yeah, that was fucking random, okay? Because I was the camera person, and I wasn't supposed to be a camera person. I wasn't supposed to do interviews. I was there to capture stuff or whatever, like just the festival in general. But it just so happened that we happened to be in a certain place at a certain time, and we were in a position to be able to jump into action because this interview happened in Art's World randomly with no publicists.
Dude, nothing. Yeah. Like he was on the side of the stage. I remember this. Ice-T was on the side of the stage. He was with Coco, his wife. I went up to him and I was like, and I'll give you the photo. You can put it up right now. See that photo? So I basically went up to him and said, "Hey, do you mind if I grab a quick photo?" And he's like, yeah, sure. And he took a photo, nice smile. It was like, yeah, this is cool. I met Ice-T. But then the journalist in me was like, I've got to interview Ice-T and I'm here doing interviews. Like, how the fuck can that happen? So I think it was his tour manager or one of his guys that was there. I was like, man, I really, really want to talk to Ice-T. And he's like, oh man, I got you. All you got to do is make a donation to this charity that we work with. I was like, well, yeah. He goes, just donate like 20 or $50 to this charity online. And I'll talk to Ice and I'll see if he'll talk to you. And I was like, okay. So I remember I went online, I donated, and then, man, next thing I know, he's like, yeah, come over. And I got to talk to Ice-T, and it was just like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
How did that happen? And I remember after you were with me, and I just was like, we got to get a camera. And we made it work. We made it happen.
I felt like Jack Bauer. You're like, where can you be here in 10 minutes? And I'm like, I sure can.
The Mic Cube, I wasn't doing this for the station I was working for. I believe I was doing this for the festival. And it was at that time where I would go to kind of like what happened with Comic-Con, like I would go to Comic-Con working for Show'em. And then after a while, I was like, why am I giving these interviews to the radio station when I could just give them to Comic-Con? And then that's where we just shifted everything and said, let's do our own content. And that was kind of like this interview that we did with Ice was kind of like one of those weird moments that fell through the cracks. Cause I knew that Show'em would not care about an interview with Ice-T because it was not at all in their format. And B, Heavy Montreal was like, it was a weird thing, so we just put it up. And people liked it and thought it was really cool. And I was like, this is awesome. But when we got a chance to talk to Ernie C about the new Body Count album that's coming out in November, I was like, we got to bring this interview back. We've got to bring this back. People have got to hear this because it fits perfect for what we're doing right now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's God to say, Body Count live that day was
Oh,
fucking
Blue
awesome.
killed it.
Killed
Absolutely
it.
killed it, man.
They're the same year as Twisted Sister too. So there was a lot of things happening at Heavy MTL that was not your typical, like, every other band with a logo you can't really understand because the writing is
Yeah.
so like it has fangs and teeth everywhere. Like it was really cool to see Twisted Sister just tear the fucking house off and Body Count tear the fucking house off. It was kind of like, I think the kudos to the Heavy MTL team for taking chances and making a fucking really cool, memorable festival, because those are the two bands I remember the most from that day.
Oh yeah. It was a great one. So all right. Well, before we go too far, let's thank our friends at Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. And if you use our promo code Rockman20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Definitely check out the Poirier Louisiana style hot sauce that the good folks at Heartbeat do. It is a fairly medium hot one, but is delicious. It goes well with everything. And use our promo code Rockman20. And you'll get 20% off your entire order. Also, a big thanks to our friends at Studio House Designs. I usually am always wearing a Studio House Design shirt. So are you, but it is close to the festive season. So you will be rocking Christmas sweaters probably until January. Yeah. And well, the reason why I'm wearing this will be very, very obvious to you in a minute as we bring in our first guest from Body Count, Ernie C. Check it out. Ernie, you got to know something. You're calling me and I'm in Montreal.
Okay.
The fact that I have this jersey on is a big deal because I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, but I wore this for you.
I used to wear King stuff before the Kings were popular.
Right. I know.
Instead of Raiders stuff, I wore King stuff back whoa, so long ago.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to make sure that I had this on representing, because I did have it. I lost a bet with my buddy in LA one night when the Habs were playing the Kings, and it was like, if they lose, I've got to buy a jersey and vice versa. So I had to buy the jersey when the Habs lost, and it's been in my closet since. I've never worn it, but I said today is the day to break it up.
It's a good thing, because I wore King stuff when people were wearing Raiders stuff, and they thought I was wearing Raiders stuff, but it was King stuff because I don't like the Raiders.
Who's your team?
Detroit now. It's always been Detroit. It's always been Detroit, but
Yeah, I hear you. Listen, man, I'm really, really glad you took the time to chat with us today. It's a big deal. New Body Count album's coming out November 22nd. It's called Merciless. Yes. What we're going to be adding to this podcast, an interview that I did with Ice-T with when he played Heavy Montreal with you guys.
Yes.
Way back, probably maybe a decade ago. And I remember being on the side of the stage, and he was watching. I can't remember who he was watching, but I could tell this guy is a true fan of metal.
I think that Twisted Sister was playing the same time we're playing. I'm not sure.
Very possible. Yeah. Very possible. Yeah. But I remember that that when I got to talk to him, I mean, his love for metal was crazy. And I got to tell you, what you guys bring together with Body Count, I feel that if Ice-T was to go out and do solo stuff right now, without Body Count, I don't think he would be expressing himself the way he wants to express himself. I think Body Count really truly gives him the chance to have the outlet where he can musically express himself the way he wants to. Am I right about that?
Yeah, well, when he does, if you're talking about when he does rap, yeah. I'm an Ice-T rap fan.
Same. Yeah,
I'm a rap fan. I go to his rap shows, but it's altogether different. The energy is different. Body Count is, we're a band, so yeah. It's a different feel. So we used to do these shows together, but now it's too much. It takes too much energy to do them together. Body Count would close the show for Ice-T. So, right. So we don't do that anymore, but it's a possibility we could do it in the future.
I love the fact that that you guys found each other, and that your love for metal really helped usher him into that world. Can you tell me what it was like when you guys were going to school together, and you kind of turned him on to metal?
Well, I didn't actually turn him. Ice has always been a metal fan, but he's more of a punk fan. He's like the Minor Threat and stuff like that. I'm more into Zeppelin and Deep Purple. That was my whole thing. In high school, I played guitar. did rap. He did rap, but it's before rap was rap. He did
Right.
what's called the Dozens, where he talked about people's mama and stuff like that. We sat around the lunch table. So later on, he went to the Army. I kept on playing music, and he
Yeah.
came back and he started doing rap music, and I was
Yeah.
still doing, my thing. And
Yeah.
then later on, the late '80s or something like that, because we did rap movies and stuff like that together,
Yeah.
Electric Boogaloo, and
Yeah.
so it came together in like the late '80s. We decided to do a band with our high school friends.
Oh, that's just something amazing. Like sometimes the high school friend connection is something that you can't when you're pretty much just aging children coming together. There's a bond there that that never breaks. Sometimes I've known some of my high school friends have been friends with for 30 years, and there's a
Yeah,
connection that other people just don't get. But to be in a band with somebody
Mm.
all
yeah,
that time, that's
we've known
incredible.
each other. We've known each other 50 years.
That's
We
crazy.
we have a high school. Our road manager and Shawnee Sean, who's in the band. We've known him for 50 years. So it's a long. It seems like we haven't changed that much, but we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always say we used to sit around the cafeteria. Now we can all order from the senior menu. So it's been a while.
I love that. I love
It's
that.
been a while.
You were nominated for a Grammy a couple years back, and then you won a Grammy. Maybe a year later, 2 years later, nomination then a winning. Is that a good feeling after all this time making music to be recognized?
The only thing that's cool about it, our street level fans don't care about Grammys.
No, of course not.
Like
Of
that.
course not.
Nobody cares about that. But
No.
what it says to you is it's you're accepted by the
Right.
industry. The
Right.
industry that during 30 years later was like slamming their door in our face. You know what I mean? It basically kicked us out of the industry. So it makes you feel good. I talked to my friend like I talked to, I'm gonna name drop for a second. I talked to Duff McKagan, and
Yeah.
he's like, "You want a Grammy?" I says, "Yeah, but you got a few of them." He's like, "No, Guns N' Roses have never won a Grammy." I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Jimi Hendrix has never won a Grammy," and so he said, "You should be proud of that." So
Yeah.
I take it for what it is now, and also it kind of sometimes when you're a musician, like you're at a party with a bunch of folks, and somebody comes to you and says, "Yeah, I play guitar." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good." I'm a guitar player. I'm like, then you can always drop. I play guitar, but I got a Grammy. So
Do you have your Grammy? Do you have it prominently placed somewhere in your house?
I have it. I'm looking at it right here. It's next to a cereal box of ice and my Grammy. They're both beside each other. Have a Cheerio box and a Grammy next to each other. Hold on.
Please go get it.
I think this is our second. Is this our second Grammy that we've had shown on the show? No.
People kind of jump off camera to grab random things. Sometimes it's Thunderbird models. Sometimes it's Grammys.
This is great.
I have a Grammy.
Oh yeah, I love it.
I have a cereal box of Cheerios.
That is the ultimate. That's the ultimate.
They're right next to each other because that's like two things you never expect. One of your best friends on a Cheerio box and a Grammy, so they belong together.
Yeah.
So I was a radio host in Montreal for 14 years. And we used to have this feature on my show. We would do it on the nights of the full moon. We would call it under whatever moon it was. So like we would have under the loving moon, and we would have love songs that would play, rock love songs. And then one night we had one called Under the Raging Moon, and we played songs that really would be, that were a lot more aggressive than we normally would play during the day. And my music director at the time, he got let go since. We both have gotten let go from that station over the years. But I remember he drops into the playlist. He puts, Killing in the Name with all the, with all the fucks. And then he puts in Cop Killer. And I'm like, so I cue it up and I'm listening. I'm like, did you mean to put in the whole intro? And he's like, oh yeah, we're playing the whole thing. Dude, the next day, some guy was listening at night and he had his kid in his car and he was bringing him back from hockey practice. And the kid heard this song goes out, the spoken intro. Man, we had to pay a $5,000 fine to the CTRC for playing.
Wow.
And it was because they complained so much. They started a petition. It was crazy. And I remember saying to myself, that is what radio is supposed to be about. You're supposed to be pushing envelopes. And the fact that I got to play Body Count's Cop Killer in its entirety, unedited on a major rock station, that for me, that was a feather in my cap that I'll never want to take out.
But that's what rock and roll is. Rock and roll is supposed to push the envelope. When Elvis and Little Richard, when they started rock and roll, it pushed the envelope. If you're not shaking the system doing rock and roll, you're doing pop. I mean, what's the purpose of us here if we don't? Our new album cover, it's gotten banned in Japan. But I'm just like, don't they have gangsters there, Yakuza, that cut off your fingers for doing something? I mean,
Actually, I was watching, I can't remember what, it might have been Revolver, but I was watching the history of Body Count, part 1 and 2, and just, once again, the closeness of the friends that started it. But as I listened to your career, like in about a 20-minute span, and just hearing the versatility of yourself as a guitar player, I was listening to new music, and I was listening to the Pink Floyd, well, it's not a Pink Floyd cover, but it's the chorus. And I was listening to your playing in it, and I'm like, man, this guy could have played in Guns N' Roses. And then I'm listening to classic stuff, and I'm like, wow, Ernie could have played in Slayer. So So basically, your versatility as a player, has that always been there? Did you encourage yourself to play multiple genres of music to be adaptable to almost anything? Or did you, like me and my stupid punk friends, put ourselves in a box and never fucking get out of it, limiting ourselves musically?
No, I always wanted to play different styles of music. I've listened to everything from I listened to Al Dimiola and McLaughlin and, Paco de Lucia, all the way down to, I played guitar on stage with B.B. King and, I played with, I've been very fortunate in my guitaring. I always consider myself, I'm not the best guitarist, but I've gone through a lot of stuff. I played guitar. Me and my family, we lived with Ella Fitzgerald for a while, and Joe Pass used to come by through there. If you don't know who he is, he's like, of course. He got like 10 hands he plays guitar with. So we've been very fortunate. And also on Comfortably Numb, that's David Gilmour playing on there.
Whoa!
No, David. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, Ryan. David Gilmour is on that song, and the reason why he's on it and correct me if I'm wrong, Ernie, but he got a demo of it and he was like, "I want to be on this." Is that right? That's crazy.
He bogarted himself on the song, but so the original song. First of all, the original song that we gave to him, Richie Sambora and I played the guitar. Richie plays the other guitar.
Wow.
My bass player, Vince, is Richie Sambora's guitar tech. And Richie was like, Vince, like, well, Body Count's going to do this. And Richie's like, hey, can I play on it? So he played on it one night, and then I played on it. So we gave that to Gilmour and Roger. That's the one they heard. Wow. And then Roger says, who's singing on it? We're like, Ice-T. He's like, it's not Gilmour, right? He's like, no, it's not. So he gave it the blessing. And so then Gilmour calls up and says, I love it. I love it. I love it. Can I play on it? And I'm like, I'm used to sneak in to see Pink Floyd's movie with The Song Remains the Same at a midnight matinee every day in Hollywood when I was like 17, 16 years old. So by him saying that just makes me say, wow, this is
I mean, like, it's that, and when you first came on, you mentioned how much of a classic rock fan you are. I mean, there's no big, like, they're on the Mount Rushmore of classic rock bands.
His face is right there.
Yeah. So for you, and especially as a guitar player, I mean, come on. I mean, the guy's he's just one of the best players ever,
and the notes are right. A few things. One thing I told Ice, I said, English guitar players seem to love us because I produced the Black Sabbath record. So I've been in the studio with Brian May. He came by. Jeff Beck, I've been in the studio with him. I've been in the studio. I didn't go to the studio with David, but he's playing on our record. I'm like, this is fantastic.
No kidding. And it's funny how, you never know where life can bring you, especially with music. Music is really, I do believe music is the great, it's the great link between so many things and so many people, and it's the thing that brings people together. Do you remember? Did Dave, were you able to see David record it, or did he just send you in his track?
No, he just did. He's explaining things to us. Like I have 3 studios. I'll record it at one. I'm like, you don't have to explain that to us. We know if you say you're going to do it. He has a studio on a yacht that floats around the Mediterranean. Come on now. You can't get no better than that.
Do you remember when you first heard the track?
Yeah, I heard it, and I was just like, "That's really good." I was just like, "Okay, now I got to learn this." That's the catch to it. It's like, okay, it's different from the one that he played. He played that almost 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, how long ago is that?
Yeah.
So it's more up to date. It's more contemporary. And the thing about it is, December the 4th, we're going to play on Jimmy Fallon. We're going to play that song. So
Really?
I'm just like in a position of like, I got to play this pretty good, because if I don't, I'm going to get ripped. So,
yeah. Floyd fans are insane for sure.
Oh yeah. They're insane. They're like, what's the name? Swifties.
Yeah.
they're like OG Swifties.
Yeah, you gotta be wary of those pink flows. I don't know. We gotta think up a new name for the.
Yeah,
exactly. I like pink flows. That's good. That's
flows.
good.
But here, one quick thing. He says, we were touring during the summer, and he says one time he's going to come out and play that with us. So I'm looking forward to that day.
That would be, I mean, you got to make sure you got your copy of Dark Side of the Moon like ready with a nice silver Sharpie to get that signed. Because imagine how good that would look. You've got the Grammy, you've got the cereal box, and then you've got the Dark Side of the Moon autograph.
Exactly.
The trifecta of like, how the fuck did this happen?
Yeah. That's beautiful. So getting back to once again, I was watching this documentary, and I just loved how raw the first album is, but just how it progressively got heavier. But when you look at what's popular in music at the time, I think people are aware now how ahead of the time that Body Count was, where, if you're starting around 1989, about 10 years later in 1999, the idea of rap and rock is like the biggest genre in the musical genre in the world. Do you guys think that some of your, some of the people that you inspired embraced you similar to that metalheads would embrace Black Sabbath in the late 90s? Or were you standing off to the side with your arms crossed going, the fuck are they doing?
No, we started the band, we just wanted to be who we are. Nirvana had a lot to do with us, because
really?
Okay. I like the way that they just came as they were, because I was trying to join rock bands back in the late 90s, late 80s. And they're like, you got to wear this outfit. You got to wear the spandex or whatever. That wasn't who we were. So we saw Nirvana play. They were coming out looking like they just rolled in off the street. Right. So we just dressed the way we dressed. And it worked. It kind of caught on. Now bands look normal. They're not, not nothing against, Freddie Mercury and all that, but we're not so glammy.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. And that was one thing was where, like, you guys did have, an authentic look that if anybody was living in LA in like the late 80s, that's how people dressed. I mean, that was the way you dressed if you were from the neighborhood you were from. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that was normal.
And one thing that was really funny, like I was at the Golden Gods some years back, and a friend of mine comes over and says, Dave Grohl wants to meet you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, who? What? So he brought me over to Dave, and I met Dave. He says, I wanted to meet you, Ernie, because Kurt really loved your band. We came and saw you one time, but we had to leave. And I was like, wow, that's really cool that he took time out to say that to me, because I loved Kurt. I thought he was just so authentic, for what he did. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I just want to.
No, that's great. That's great. And it's nice to see, what I love is that, when I did get to talk to Ice, like you could tell he still has this enthusiasm, even though he's involved with so many different things and he's such a massive, he's so recognized worldwide for so many things, for his acting.
Yeah, he has a day job. I always tell him he has a day job.
Right. But for a guy, but he's still really passionate about music, man. You can tell, like, this guy, he is doing this with you and the band because he wants to do it still. And that's and it comes across, man.
and that what makes it so good because we're able to do it, and we still have a we're not a band that tours like 24/7 that
No.
start hating each other's guts and stuff like that. And I'm traveling behind the band, on another bus. We all like being together. Like we might tour for 6 weeks during the whole year.
Yeah.
We love being together because it's family, and that's what when Body Count plays, everyone in the audience sees that we like each other and we're having a great time. That's the fun of it.
And the fact that you guys, at the ages you are, you really don't give a fuck.
What
And
age is that? What age?
no, but
What age?
well, you mentioned that you've known each other for 50 years. So I
Yeah,
get, unless
a
you
long
started the
time.
bands when you were 5, but you know what I mean? What I'm saying is that you don't care, like you don't give a fuck. And it's such a refreshing thing to see in this day and age. People that are like, hey man, if you can't see the tongue in cheekness of our album cover, if you can't understand that the band is like, it's almost like going to see a horror movie. Like you go see a horror movie, you experience the horror movie. You're not going to go do that in real life. And if people think you're doing that in real, like, I think one of my favorite songs from you guys is, talk shit, get shot. Like it's just,
that's some internet stuff, So that just kind of tells people about the internet. That song couldn't have been done when we first started our record because the internet is something that came, has developed over the time we've had this band. So that song fits exactly.
Well, but that's what I've always loved about this band. It's like going to see a really good movie. You escape for the time you listen to the record. You're in another world, but you got to remember this is it's like you're not walking down the street, trying to cut somebody with a machete or try to shoot somebody. It's art and it's fantasy, and that's what's great about it.
And also we have a sense of humor. We don't take it that serious. Some bands are really serious. Some of these bands are these death band. They're like, I'm scared of them. I'm like, I better get out of here before the lights come on. Because we just have a sense of humor about it. And we just, that's the key to everything in life. Have a sense of direction and a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Speaking of sense of humor, you have this great song, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's "Rage and Body." It's the one where you're all puppets in the music video.
Oh, The Hate Is Real.
Hate Is Real. Thank you. And so I'm watching The Hate Is Real, and it's funny because it's really showing some very serious things that have been happening in the last few years in the world, but it's dramatized through puppets. And I'm like, I like how they went out of their way to make sure that your puppet was also left-handed.
Yeah, I like that. That was a contest we had.
Really?
And we had a bunch of videos, and that was like the funniest one. I like the left hand that he made him left-handed. Yeah.
In terms of lyrics, is it pretty much ice on everything, or do you guys collab at all?
No, it's pretty much ice on everything.
Yeah.
Like when we first started, I wrote some lyrics because there's some things that I wanted to get out. But of late, he's been writing the lyrics. But everyone kind of on the same page. If something's a little too extreme, we might say, yeah.
Well, I think there's two guys, and and I have to say, like I am a massive hip hop fan, and I know a lot about hip hop. I'm 53, so I kind of like to say I grew up in the era when hip hop when it was the best. And there's two people that are able to form play on words that are really poignant. One is Chuck D, and one is Ice. And in Fuck What You Heard, when he says Demo Crips and Blood Publicans, I mean, that is just genius.
I thought the same thing. Really, I'm an Ice-T fan, and I'm in the band. I'm like going, that's sharp. That's
no kidding.
I thought was sharp.
And man, and I'm telling you, at this stage where he's at, some people, like a good prize fighter, they kind of they step off the gas. He puts a lyric like that out on something that's coming out in 2 weeks, and you're like, man, this guy's still as sharp as ever.
Yeah, right. And having to do with what just went on in this country here, it's like right on time. Body Count has always been kind of right on time, but we just feel what's going on with the country,
Well, so. That's why for me, when it comes to what, and again, not to take anything away from Ice's hip hop stuff, but what he does with Body Count to me is like right up there with what Chuck does with Public Enemy. It's like, it's literally, the news of what's going on. And it's great. And it's like time capsules of moments too. So, I could go back and listen to Public Enemy when he did Son of a Bush. And I'm like, man, I remember that time. And it's great when you hear certain things over the years, that it's like timestamps on things.
Yeah, I love Chuck. Chuck always says the best things. Chuck always, he's been around since the band first started, and
Yeah.
he always says to me, when you don't enjoy it anymore, don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's the best advice.
Chuck is, as an artist myself, one of the coolest moments was when we ended up having Chuck collaborate on something that we did with DMC.
Oh,
And when Chuck sent his verse, I remember just getting that email and it just said, "Gentlemen, hope this is good." And I just remember listening to it and I almost started crying because I'm like, that's Chuck D's voice on something we're going to do. Like, that's just fucking, that shit's crazy.
And he's very humble about it.
He's one of the most humble people I've ever met, and one of the kindest too.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I know you got another one to do right after this, but I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, man.
And thank you for supporting us and hanging out and for wearing that Kings jersey for me. Let me take a selfie. Hold on, let me push this button here.
Wait,
Where'd you go, Ryan?
No, I'm trying not to interrupt your photo. I don't know.
Oh no, you can be in it.
No, you're in my photo.
I have an Aerosmith Christmas sweater. It's not as cool as in King's jersey.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Have a good day.
Peace.
Have a great one. Bye. What a nice man.
The best.
It's funny though. All these people that played in bands that scared me, they're usually the nicest people.
Nicest guys, dude. Nicest guys.
And then it's the ones that play in the pop happy bands. They're the cunts. it's kind of funny.
It's true. I hate to say it, but you're kind of right about that. You know what's really cool about Ernie? What I love about him is that you talk to him, like I guarantee you, if we would have had him on the phone or on the show for another hour, we probably would have figured out 15 more things that we all had in common together.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Like and when he went and got his Grammy, this is the third person I think on the show that's shown us, like, I know Bill showed us his Grammy. Steve from the Sex Pistols.
Glenn
Matlock from the Sex Pistols went and grabbed one of his awards also. And showed us his award.
He
and
also showed us his Thunderbird collection. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
But that was great. Just Ernie's enthusiasm. Like, hang on a minute. I'm going to go grab my Grammy.
I think he was more excited about the Cheerios personally.
I know. And he's like, and then when we told him, like if you meet David Gilmour, get that, copy of Dark Side of the Moon, he's going to go get a copy of Dark Side of the Moon, get it signed, and it's going to be on the mantle next to his Grammy and next to his Cheerios.
Yeah, it's something just to be said, especially with Ernie, of his personality. He is a fantastic guitar player, and his versatility is insane.
So good.
But one thing I was noticing about just the dynamic is that Ice is arguably one of the most famous rappers in the world, but also in general. But the what's really cool about it is that there doesn't seem to be any bitterness or jealousy. He is happy for his friend. He's happy his friend is on Cheerios. That's so refreshing, because in the rock and roll world, everyone fucking hates each other. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I know. No, it's and when he was saying, like, we don't hate each other.
Yeah.
We go out like 6 weeks a year maybe, and we're all together. We're just happy to be together. And I love that. I just love hearing that. Makes me a little I don't know. It makes me a little jealous. I wish I had a situation where I would be able to, like, you know what I'm saying, right? It's probably, I guess it's kind of like you with the Holiday Hooligans. Like,
yeah.
You would get together, and when you would do your shows, you would just be like so happy to see the guys.
Happy to see you guys, but it's hard. It's hard to wrangle everybody and try to even emphasize fake joy into playing Christmas music in September. It's really tough. But I will say this is that I've had friends for over 30 years, and they mean the world to me. But I've never been in a band with them, and I think that's good because
it is. Like, but honestly, when Ernie was telling that story about them getting together and doing stuff and having fun, like, that's the best part about being in a band. That's the best part about traveling with your friends, is just going and having a good time. All right, Ryan, we are going to unearth this dusty gem from 2014. Here is our conversation, because it's very much our conversation, because you're on the other end of it recording it. Check it out. Ice-T on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, what's going on? I'm backstage at Heavy Montreal with the legend Ice-T. What's going on?
Hey, man, we're so happy to be here. We barely made it.
I just watched you pretty much annihilate Montreal from the side of the stage. I would be pretty hard-pressed to say that Ice-T and Body Count are back.
Yeah. I mean, we put out a new album. We actually just came off the Mayhem Fest. Yesterday was the last day. We're in Dallas, Texas, We went out there. We had an incredible run, like about 38 shows, and now this is our last show. We barely made it here today, but it makes it all worthwhile. Montreal has an incredible audience for live performance. I'll never forget it. It was incredible today, and after having such a hard day, we slept in the airport just to come out there and see, the people's reaction made it worth it.
I think what made me the happiest during your set was, obviously the classics, people are going to love them, but the reaction that you got for the new song, Talk Shit, Get Shot, was probably the best reaction of the set. Would you not agree?
Yeah,
And that must feel good, right?
We've been ripping through 25-minute sets, so today we played like 35 minutes, but, we played the 2 new songs, and now Manslaughter, the only people know that record are the people that bought the album so far. So that's like a test. Talk Shit Get Shot is on YouTube now. It's about 750,000 views. But right now we want people to actually go out, pay $9 and take the risk and get the album. You can hear the whole album on YouTube, but invest in it. That way, when we come around, you'll know the words. We'll do more songs.
I really, really like the covers that you have on the record, especially the one in 99 Problems.
Well,
what inspired that?
Well, that's a retake. I made, that's my record. And, we did that record 11 years before Jay-Z did it. And, people will say, even though you said it, say I covered Jay-Z.
Right, but
no,
right.
It's we call it a rejack in hip hop, take my song back. But like we were just playing with it in the studio when we were making the album, and everybody used to tease me. And I said, all right, let's just throw it on here. Like in hip hop, we do inserts, like skits. So it comes on with me singing a cappella, and then it hits, and then, some people go, wait a minute, Ice is doing Jay-Z's song, and then you get to smack the shit out of them. Say, now that's Ice, that's the original 99 Problems. And then we did Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, it was great.
You can't be a hardcore band out of LA without paying homage to Suicidal. People say Ice, you guys had that gangster look, but really Suicidal had it first. Mike had the bandanas and they were representing that skating and, just wasn't normal punk. It didn't look normal, looked more gangster, So, that's my favorite Suicidal song, and I just said, how can I do it? And we just flipped the scenarios, brought it up to 2014, and had fun with it. If you watch the video, my good friend Glenn Friedman produced the Suicidal album and the video. So I think one thing about bands is I think if bands take themselves too serious, it gets boring to me. So I like the fact that Body Count will scare you sometimes, but sometimes it's just for jokes.
Well, for sure. It's in a way, it's another role, right?
It's Grindhouse. If you ever watch Grindhouse movies, that's what Body Count is. I mean, I've been searching for a title for what we are, but we're Grindhouse Metal, which is it's so outrageous it can't be taken seriously.
It's like watching a Rodriguez movie or a Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
that's a great title, Grindhouse.
So when Body Count runs to the car, we don't pull out a gun, we pull out a rocket launcher. It's just way over the top. And like I told people, I'm like, if you believe Cop Killer, you also believe on the next song I decapitated my mother with a Ginsu carving knife, which we only use on bullshit holidays like Thanksgiving. So it's just my imagination saying what if. I think we all wish we could reach through a laptop screen and snatch a hater.
Like at the beginning of the video.
Talk Shit Get Shot. So in Body Count, we do it.
Yeah.
We do it. It's kind of like we're the guys that'll do the dirty work for you that you wish you could do.
Does it feel good to be back with Body Count after such a lengthy break?
Well, absolutely, man. There's nothing that can compare to live performance. I mean, doing movies is great, but when you do a film or a television, that's a delayed reaction. You're acting it. Like right now, I'm doing this interview, but I'm not around for the reaction to this video. But if I was talking in front of a live audience, I could feel them, if they're feeling what I'm saying or not. I don't think there's anything that can match the rock star. Even when our president was running for election, they said he's a rock star. Like a rock star was a step up from the presidency.
But he kind of was. I mean, everyone really got into that election. I mean, there was something different that was happening.
The thing of a rock star is when you got that, when you step on that stage and you got people hanging on every single word. There's nothing like it. Like in the middle of my set, I could be like, I want a glass of water, and they'll cheer.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't happen.
You can say anything.
That doesn't happen in real life. But you got to get that audience in your palm of your hand, you know, and some people do it different ways. I kind of like bully them into submission.
Well, yeah, what I liked is you had a kid that was up in the front of the audience, and you asked him, how old are you guys? How old are you? And he said 16.
Yeah.
And I thought that, and then you went on with a great stage back.
I said, yeah, you could be at a Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber show, but you're here at 16 years old. And the audience got to love that, you know. And, you know, what I do with Body Count, though, is like in hip-hop, we do segues into songs. And, you know, a lot of metal bands, you know, you go song. But I kind of do the stuff that we do in hip-hop where I say, you know, if you said something, say talk, and then we drop it. And that's the same way a DJ drops records. And I think a lot of the call and response, I'm just watching Hatebreed, and they got a lot of it. But you know Jamie's a hip-hop fan.
Absolutely.
So I think as you start to merge genres together, you get different forms of music, which it's all music at the end of the day, so it's fun.
You still go to IHOP a lot?
Yeah, I go to IHOP.
The reason I'm asking you is because when I moved to LA in '99,
Right.
and I remember we're this like small Canadian band, and we just moved to LA. You know, it's like you moved to Hollywood.
Right.
We're at IHOP at like 2 a.m, and you were in the booth behind me, and I heard your voice, and I was like, "That's fucking Iced Tea."
You know what's fucking funny though? It's like I eat at IHOP, I eat at Denny's,
In-N-Out,
In-N-Out, all that bullshit. And then sometimes, like, you know, on Twitter now you're saying I'm at IHOP, and people go, "You're at Denny's?" I'm like, what is there, a fucking Gucci egg I'm missing or some shit? You know what I'm saying? I mean, an egg is a fucking egg. Okay? So, you know, you're stupid. But people have this weird belief that, I hate to say it, like, with any degree of success, you no longer do normal things.
right?
I mean, like, Kool-Aid doesn't taste good anymore or some weird shit like that, you know? Like, you know, a McDonald's cheeseburger is bad. That all this, what happens usually when people become successful, they go on this mission and they do everything they never could do.
Right.
And they come back to the shit they like. And they'll be, you know, so what? They're sitting in their in the penthouse suite, but they're eating fucking Frosted Flakes. You know, because that's the shit they like. So you get a little better room, I guess. That's all that happens. You get a better room. But at the end of the day, you know, you want what you like.
A lot of people know you, and it's funny because through the generations, I mean, I know you from Color Soundtrack and from all that, but a lot of people know you, like my dad knows you from Law and Order.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, you know, for one generation, you're the cop killer guy. For another generation, you're a detective.
Well, you know, first off, it's like, I've been on Law and Order now going on 16 years.
Yeah.
So if a kid is 18, he was 2 when I went on Law and Order, so he has no reference point to me doing music. And if you notice, even when we do our set, the first song, usually people are just staring there, flat-footed. They don't want to move. They're really just kind of taking in like, yo, this is what this motherfucker really does. Like, I've been watching him on TV, but this is his shit right here. And after that, by the second song, they just start moshing. But you can't mosh and watch the same show at the same time. So I get the flat-footed response right out the gate, and then they just say, "Oh shit," and it dawns on them that they're having a good time. But you know, I mean, I believe everybody that acts wants to do music, and everyone that does music wants to act.
And you're able to do both, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, you know, they're gonna take the worst guy from rock and make him, you know, a school teacher. That's what they do with acting. You got what's called going against type. So, you know, I played cops in New Jack City. I mean, at least the cop I play on TV chases pedophiles and chases child molesters. Nobody likes them. I'm not a fan of the cops. Don't get it fucked up. But I'm a fan of acting. And when they ask you to act, you can't be a rock star and then say, I have to act like a rock star. It doesn't fucking work. You're not going to get a job. So they're going to make you do something you normally wouldn't do. And that's when you prove you got acting chops.
Tell me a bit about your relationship with Jonathan Davis from Korn, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff on social media that you guys are hanging out a lot, or you were hanging out on the Mayhem tour.
Well, you know, Korn is a West Coast band, and they're from the same generation as us. I mean, I remember seeing them when they first started out, and it was a different kind of rock that was coming out of that West Coast, along with Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit, people like, so he's kind of like a kindred brother of that movement of, I don't like giving it titles, but Korn isn't as much metal as it is funk.
Absolutely. Especially with the groove.
Yeah. So, but it's just guitars. And, we're connected another way because his right-hand man, Sleep, went to school with me and from the same gang neighborhood I'm from and stuff. So, Sleep been with him 18 years. So that's love. But, we go out there on a tour. You're going to find the bands that you like a lot, and you'll become like we became extremely tight with Cannibal Corpse, because Cannibal Corpse went through all that drama when we were going through our stuff at 6 a.m. I mean, when we were going with the Cop Killer stuff, they was on Cannibal's ass.
Yeah.
Back then, and we called them, we're the gray hair crew. All of us is out there. And that's the beauty of rock. The beauty of rock is they respect veterans.
Absolutely.
So me and George, Corpse Grinder, we out there having a good time with them. We met this new band that we love out of Texas called Upon a Burning Body, which happened to be on Sumerian, but these kids are brutal. I mean, we became fun with The Darkest Hour. Just different bands migrate toward each other. I think one thing that people aren't aware of that is, and I've said it, is that fans are far more polarized with this music than the artists are. Fans really think you can't like Hatebreed and like Ice-T. They don't know that me and Jamie are friends. They don't think you can like Slayer and Ice-T. They don't know I'm one of the only people that ever done a duet with Slayer.
That's it.
Because as artists, we listen to everybody's. We became friends with Texas Hippie Coalition out there, because music is music. And we know somebody who's a sucker and who's whack. We'll say that band sucks. But some bands are really, really good, and you can learn a lot from them. And you'd be surprised. I was sitting with the Cannibal Corpse guys talking about Humpty Dance, So I think the fans gotta really get their minds open and say, hey, if it sounds good to me, I'm gonna have to be courageous enough to like it, whether it's Ice-T or Sade, or whether it's, because see, to me, dope is just dope.
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse is dope, but so is Jane's Addiction.
Absolutely.
Just different variations of dope shit. It all ain't gotta sound the same. And then you got the biters, the motherfuckers that are trying to sound so much like somebody that they kind of eliminate themselves from the equation. So the one thing about my band is I always wanted us to sound unique. We're not the same as as Jamie's band. We're not Hatebreed, but it's dope in another way, and that's important.
Thanks so much for taking the time, man. It's great to see you back, and I'd love to see a reunion tour for the Power record.
Anything can happen, man. Anything can happen.
It's coming up, right?
Yeah, we're gonna finish this. This is our last date out. Then we take a break. Then we're going down to play the Gorbacue with Hatebreed. We'll be down there. Then we got this thing in Brooklyn. What's the thing in Brooklyn, Mickey? The Afro Punk Fest. Something. Then gonna do a couple of videos. Then I'm gonna go back and do my day job. Pay some bills, and we'll see what happens. Probably start another album. And hopefully we'll tour Europe next summer.
Backstage, Heavy Montreal with Ice motherfucking T.
Bitch.
That dude was rad. Okay, true story.
First off, do you like the way he signs off?
Oh yes. I like the way you signed off. Mr. Showman was unhinged that day. So one thing about Ice-T, we were backstage in Artist World, and I rarely had that much access to Artist World, and the food back there is amazing.
Oh, it's so good. Well, I mean, I don't know. It was really good back then. There was a golden time,
Yeah. So we're eating, and I see the corner of my eye. I'm like, oh, that's Ice-T. So it's funny how Ice-T is there, and even though I grew up in punk music, it's funny what Body Counts and everything, what they accomplished, because when I was a teenager, this is 1998, 99, 2000.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck was happening, but everybody was under the impression that if you liked punk music, you weren't allowed to like rap music. Like,
right.
And it's something about being young and wanting to belong to something that you feel ownership over music you didn't write, and and how the music and the fashion are tied into each other, and therefore if you're not wearing this, you are not this and stuff. And in hindsight, how ridiculous the amount of time and energy one would even spend on trying to compartmentalize yourself on purpose.
Right.
That it's just as a grown-ass man just re-listening to all Body Count now, you're just like, fuck, they're one of the best thrash bands. They're fucking
so
awesome.
Good, dude.
I don't. Slayer are great, but they're not my favorite band. I like Body Count. I will say this right now. I like Body Count way more than I like Slayer. And that is, I have no qualms about fucking saying that to any of my metalhead friends. We're listening to this going, what the fuck, bro? I'm like, nope.
I'm right there with you, man. I would much rather listen to Body Count than Slayer. And like, I know Slayer are great riffs and all that. I love Slayer, but like I am a hip hop guy. So rap and hip hop together just make a lot of fucking sense.
No matter how heavy it is, Ice's voice is at the top of it, piercing through, and every word is being registered.
Yeah.
And that to me is a lot more of a listener experience, especially in a vocal way. Cause like I said, I come from punk and lyrics meant a lot from punk music. Yep. So like to have the lyric, topical political lyrics that challenge the way you think, piercing through the heaviest of music, I think is actually the whole point of it.
Listen, there was something very special about rap and metal when they merged. And there's a reason why that genre just got so fucking popular. So yeah, there you go, man. Listen, dude, I'm really, really happy that we got to do this and we got to talk to Ernie and we got to talk to, kind of like brought back that interview with Ice-T because the new album is really, really good. It's called Merciless. It's going to be out November 22nd. So if you're a fan of Body Count, make sure you keep that on the absolute radar of life because Century Media will be dropping Body Count's Merciless November 22nd. You can get it everywhere. And I think people are going to love this record. I mean, I've had a chance to sit with it now for a bit and it's just so good. So definitely check out the new album from Body Count, available November 22nd. A big thank you to our producer, Julia Kajerski. Thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. And a big thanks to you as well for joining us on the podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. And again, big thanks to our friends at Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Use our promo code Rockman20 and get 20% off your entire order. Big thanks to Studio House Designs and to Audio Technica Canada. And until next time, we will see you on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for watching the podcast. We really appreciate your support. And if you're enjoying the podcast, click this link right over here to watch the next episode and click right over here and subscribe. And that way you won't miss anything.